Hi, everyone. My name is Jeanette Trinidad, and I'm from Long Island, New York. I'm presenting my research on how AI-generated news summaries frame police violence compared to traditional news reporting. So this project was conducted under the mentorship of Dr. Farin Samir from the Natural Language Processing Group at the University of British Columbia. And it focuses on civilian sympathy, police sympathy, and systemic violence. So in this study, I compared 20 news articles with AI. Using a structured codebook, each sentence was analyzed for frames emphasizing civilian or police sympathy, either mobilizing or disrupting. I found that AI downplaying civilian social context and prior officer misconduct. This suggests AI can unintentionally shift narrative focus, which is crucial to understand when relying on automated news tools for sensitive topics. So for my violence plays a huge role in shaping public perception, not just the victims and officers, but of systemic issues too. News framing determines who gets empathy. News tends to highlight police perspectives, sometimes minimizing systemic patterns or civilian suffering. With the rise of AI-generated summaries like Perplexity AI, we need to ask, how are these sensitive incidents framed automatically? Do AI outputs amplify certain narratives, downplay others, or omit context entirely? There's a lack of research systemically comparing AI summaries to original news reports, especially regarding civilian and police sympathy frames, which is what my study aims to address. So the importance of my study, well, this study is important because AI models are trained on existing news, which means they may reproduce the same biases journalists have historically introduced. So journalists actively decide on how to frame incidents. They ask, are they isolated events, systemic failures, or moments of heroism? Often, reporting underrepresents structural abuse, which limits the potential for institutional reform. AI summarization tools tend to mirror this event-centered focus, processing incidents as discrete, high-intensity events without the broader social or historical context. Okay, so for my data set, in this study, I analyzed 20 news articles covering fatal police shootings. 17 of these articles were from major Canadian outlets, and were from major US sources. So three popular sources in the US covering cases like George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, etc. I chose these articles from the 2010s to the 2020s to capture a variety of locations, publications, and incidents. Each article was summarized using Perplexity AI, which generated concise summaries of roughly 10 to 15 sentences. These AI summaries were paired with their corresponding original news reports so that I could directly compare them to how each source framed the incident. So at the bottom, this is the Perplexity AI generation, and the top is just a list of compiled articles from news outlets. So for the methods, I conducted a qualitative research content analysis to compare narrative framing between AI summaries and original articles. Each sentence was coded for one or more of 16 possible frames, and these frames fall into four main categories: disrupting, police sympathy mobilizing, and police sympathy disrupting. After utilizing computer science, I compared how often each frame appeared, how frames were ordered, and how their emphasis differed between AI-generated summaries and human-written articles. This method allowed me to combine qualitative frequency counts with qualitative insights about narrative focus. So to clarify the algorithm, I'll highlight the most important frames. CM1 refers to immediate brutality towards civilians, like vivid descriptions of violence meant to evoke concern. CM2 captures the civilian social context, such as their family or community ties. CM3 tracks long-term civilian impact, like trauma or disability. CD2 marks illegal actions by the civilian during the incident, which could make them appear less sympathetic. And for the police side, PM2 captures specific threats the officers face, while PD1 identifies past officer misconduct, including lawsuits or complaints. PD3 notes systemic abuse of marginalized groups, connecting the incident to broader institutional patterns. And these frames let us systemically compare how AI and human reporting treat civilians, officers, and systemic issues. So just to make it more clearer, C stands for civilian, M stands for mobilizing, same P stands for police, D is disrupting, and the numbers correlate to which framing they are. So to visualize these charts, to visualize these results, I created four charts. The first shows raw counts of each frame in AI summaries and original articles. The second shows the percentage distribution of frames within Perplexity AI summaries. And the third shows percentages for the original articles. The fourth chart compares frame proportions across the two sources side by side. These charts help highlight patterns in what frame AIs emphasizes what it underrepresents and how it reorders narrative focus compared to traditional reporting. So these results show clear differences in framing between AI summaries and original news articles. Perplexity AI consistently emphasizes immediate brutality towards citizens, which is frame CM1, and specific threats to police, frame PM2. In contrast, AI also tends to underrepresent a civilian social context, CM2, and past officer misconduct, PD1, which original articles include more often. Interestingly, AI summaries highlight systemic abuse of marginalized groups, PD3, more frequently than the other source articles. Both AI and human reports give minimal attention to long-term civilian consequences or depictions of police heroism, leaving readers with a snapshot of the incidents, but little sense of the broader impacts or accountability. So looking back to the charts referenced before, we can see how frame frequency and proportions differ between AI and original reporting. AI summaries foreground dramatic high-intensity events, such as the violence itself and threats to officers, giving them greater visibility. Original news articles, however, provide richer context, including civilian background, community ties, and past officer conduct. This suggests that AI tends to condense stories into the most immediate and attention-grabbing elements, while human reporting balances immediacy with social and historical context. So these framing differences have significant implications. AI summaries shift public attention towards immediate brutality and specific threats to police, while downplaying context and accountability details. This can influence how the public interprets incidents, potentially reinforcing biased narratives or oversimplifying complex events. By prioritizing dramatic moments over social or historical context, AI may unintentionally amplify sensational aspects, shaping perceptions of both. Another important observation is that AI highlights systemic abuse of marginalized groups more than the original articles, which could help shape awareness. However, both AI and human reports underrepresent long-term civilian consequences and broader systemic issues. This omission risks framing incidents as an isolated event rather than outcome of broader institutional dynamics. These patterns likely reflect both the AI model's training data and its optimization for concise, attention-grabbing content. In conclusion, Perplexity AI summaries systemically emphasize high-intensity events, such as immediate brutality towards citizens and threats to police, while underrepresenting social context and officer accountability. AI also simplifies systemic abuse of marginalized groups more than original articles, though both sources rarely address long-term civilian impact or police heroism. These findings highlight that AI-generated summaries can influence public perception and potentially reproduce biases present in the original reporting. Future research analyze larger datasets, study audience interpretation, and examine a broader range of AI tools to better understand how automated summarization can help news narratives, as these are some limitations to my project. So, what do these findings mean for us as news consumers? First, AI shapes attention by dramatizing immediate violence and threats, making incidents appear more intense or urgent than they might in context. Human reporting, on the other hand, provides social context, historical background, and accountability details that help audience understand the full story. Without this context, there's a risk of public misperception or oversimplified narratives. AI can also unintentionally reproduce or amplify biases found in the original reporting. This highlights the importance of critically evaluating AI-generated news and being aware how framing choices by humans or machines affect our understanding of complex, high-stake events. So, basically, my main takeaway and lesson is that AI might frame the story that you hear, but humans must decide what the story really means and how we interpreted that. And I want to thank my mentor, my fellow mentees, and the Talaria Institute for giving me this opportunity to present this research.